There is nothing worse than untapped potential. If you know that you're made for more, this is the place. I know that every successful person I've ever met has one thing in common. They do not let themselves fall victim to their circumstances. They figure out a way to rise above it. So join me on this journey where I help you to be better, do better, and have better in life and in business. If you're feeling stuck and you're needing some practical tools, some hope to get you to that better life, this is definitely the place for you. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Unstuck Podcast. Oh my goodness, you guys, we get a chance to have a really candid, intimate conversation with Val Kleinhans. You guys, she is known in my community as Val in Vogue and all kinds of other cool things. So she's definitely somebody that I've been wanting to have on the show and chat with candidly for a really long time. Because Val, you are somebody that I look up to from afar. I love all the cool stuff that you're doing. And I really love your heart to try to make a difference through your own story. And I want to thank you for being here, sister. It's so fun to talk to you finally.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I've been enjoying getting to know each other ever since I moved here. It's been 6 years already, and we've kind of always like seen each other at the same events and stuff. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay. Now we have a chance to actually
we have similar circles. Yeah, I love it. And you know, one of the things that I love about you is your variety of all the cool things that you've done. I mean, you were in radio, you've worked in healthcare, you've done all kinds of cool stuff. So tell us a little bit about you, what you've been doing and what you're doing now.
All those things, I like to call that surviving as a millennial, trying to do all the things because Lord knows there is no one size fits all answer for any of that anymore. And I kind of learned that the hard way. I mean, when you're little, any American grows up being inundated with your job is your life. Your job is what everything else revolves around. And if you've got that, you've got everything. And for me, they by the time you're in grade school, they're just like, decide what you want to do. Make that decision now. Right. Work toward that. Yeah. That's what you should do. Perfect it in college. And by the time you're done with college, be an expert and go out there and get that job. And it's like, hold up. This train is moving a little bit too fast. So I learned it the hard way because I did the whole what every good American kid does. And I went to school. I chose a profession that I thought I would both enjoy and earn a living at. And you can, it's just not a lot of money. I found that out later. But so I did that. I went to school for broadcast. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania originally. So if I sound weird, that's why. And I decided to just go for that totally. That was a dream. That was a dream job. And for a long time, it still was. I still liked it up until I hit about 3 years in the industry, 3 years of being on the air. And I started to see that the industry itself, the radio industry, was very subjective. And for someone who takes things personally, sometimes to a fault, I'll own that, sometimes to a fault, that's hard. Yeah. Because if somebody has, this subjective way of looking at things and you're not immediately pleasing them like you're told you're supposed to do at your job, then you get upset about it. Then you figure out what's wrong. What do I do? So years and years of that, I ended up having enough. And it wasn't even a conscious thought that I had enough. It was anxiety and depression that told me you've had enough. Yeah. It was wanting to grab pills one night and hope I didn't wake up the next day. Enough. Like that. That's the point when you're like, okay. So eventually, the anxiety and depression got so bad that even a week after that, I was still trying to work at the same environment, the same job, definition of insanity. Wow. And I ended up in the ER just because I didn't know what else to do. Thankfully, I had a friend tell me that you could go to the ER when you are in the middle of a bad panic attack or when you have suicidal ideation, which is what it's called. It's ideation is not acting on suicide, but you're thinking about it and it looks pretty good. Yeah. It's even that the ER will accept you. I didn't know that. I had to have somebody tell me that and physically drive me to the ER to make me see this. So and thank God they did, because that points you in the direction of mental health resources and mental health programs. And Rochester, we're lucky enough that we have a lot of that around. And
we do.
It's a shame that, it's not as available everywhere in the country, but I'm fortunate enough to live in a place where it is. And they had an outpatient program through Mayo Clinic. There was inpatient through Mayo Clinic, Olmsted Medical Center, NAMI, a number of places. I ended up doing an outpatient program at Mayo Clinic. And that was a month of just physically forcing myself to not enter my office and really look at myself and go, what's going on? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I carrying this? And what am I going to do about it when I get out of here? Because there is going to be a life after this. Someone somewhere is still going to expect me to show up for something. And I'm going to have to be ready. And I can't do it with the weight of anxiety and depression on me.
Right.
I can't.
Right.
So I listened in that program. We practiced a lot of mindfulness. We practiced a lot of yoga and Tai Chi and like recreation time. We talked about scheduling and how keeping a schedule can keep you focused and keep you mentally on the right track as well. Like sticking to a rhythm or a routine is what they would call it. Like if going to the gym every day puts you in the right mindset, for example. For me, it does. I'm just using that because it does for me.
Yeah.
But if it does, that's your anchor. That is something that is a non-negotiable that you need to do every day to stay mentally right and to show up the way that you want to show up. And I don't know why.
That's really powerful.
Yeah. I don't know why it took a program to like lay it out that way for me, but it did. And it's so weird because.
But it helped. And I think that there's. Yeah, go ahead. It's so weird. What? I want to hear.
It's weird that. You think you're getting into your dream job. I mean, I was like, I'm going to be on the radio. I'm going to be like Howard Stern. Eventually I'll work my way to LA and it's going to be great. And America does a really good job at that. Like they'll sell you the dream, but when you get into it, you learn about the nuances of it. And then you have to learn how to pivot. And that's essentially what I did.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I got into radio. I'm glad I was on the air for 7.5 years. And I'm glad I learned what I did. I'm glad that I did country station. I'm glad that I did a rock station. I'm glad that I did a pop station and a classic hit station. I'm glad I had all of that experience. I don't take it back for a second.
Yeah.
What I regret is the corporate nature behind it. That is the stuff that set me over the edge. The subjective, leaving things to chance, and today we love you, tomorrow we hate you. That kind of thing. That was very hard on me. And that's just...
It was very fickle. It sounds like it was fickle. Like, is that?
Yeah, that's fair.
It just, and I'm just curious, with your anxiety and depression, did you find that those things were things that you dealt with prior to going into this profession and having this type of industry really wear you down in that way? Or do you find that, like, was it just exacerbated during that time? Or do you feel like it was really just a toxic environment that wasn't suited for you?
Both, all of the above. I think, yes, I think ever since probably 17, 18, my parents were going through a pretty nasty divorce at that time.
Yeah.
So I think that set off, and they both of them are classic anxiety and depression cases as well. So, hi, welcome to the club. No wonder their child would have the same thing.
Yeah.
But I went from that to not really thinking about anxiety or depression a lot because I was becoming an adult. I was finding my own way, and I didn't have to face it until you start crying when you're putting your shoes on because you know you're going to work, and it's this unconscious thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I actually forgot what it felt like for a few years. And then I was like, wow, I feel jittery. I don't feel comfortable. I don't like this environment. This really reminds me of when I was 18 and when my parents got divorced. And and that was when I saw a therapist for a very brief period of time. And I forgot what it felt like. It took a reminder. And I think I was on the phone with my mom or dad at that time, and they knew I was having a hard time. And I think they both were trying to tell me, like, you're going through this. I get it. I've been there. It's okay. You can, like, I think that might be what's going on. You don't sound like you're doing too bad.
Right. Right.
So thank God for them. And, you know, thank God for loved ones that can point that out, as hard as it might've been to hear, because you want to, I mean, at that time, I'm still a young adult. I want to prove myself. I want to prove I can be independent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to crawl back to mom and dad
Right.
for money or for
Mm-hmm.
housing or anything like that. You know, I didn't want them to have
Right.
to worry. But
Yeah.
in that situation, I'm glad that they said there's therapy options. Mom said, I take
Yeah.
Celexa. Because I take this, it would probably work for you too. Talk to your doctor about
Mhm.
that. And sure enough,
Right.
she was right. And I still have that prescription today and it works.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so
I think that there's so many things that can lead us down the shame wormhole.
mhm.
And it sounds like, you know, we go into our childhood and young adulthood with this perception that we have to know everything and we have to have it all figured out. And if we don't, then there's something wrong with us, right?
Mhm.
So then we pick out something that seems like a good fit. Nobody ever says, who do you want to be? They ask you, what do you want to
Yeah.
be? Who do you want to be is a totally different answer. It's, who do I want to be? How do I want to show up in the world? What kind of lifestyle do I want? What kind of impact do I want to make? What kind of hours and pay do I want to have? And all of those things come together to create who we want to be, not what we want to be. But if we don't have that all figured out, then we're never asked, we're shamed in that, right? So then we go down to the next path. And then we oftentimes will, like you said, you're like, oh my gosh, you know, here I am, a young adult. I don't want to have to fall back on my parents.
Mhm.
And so we shame ourselves into getting help, which is not healthy for us
No.
at all. And then we oftentimes will shame ourselves into thinking, okay, well, I just need to tough this out, right?
Mhm.
Like, I'm in this job, maybe it'll get better, or maybe it's me in this season or whatever. And we stay in misery.
Mhm.
And we shame ourselves for giving up on something that was probably never the right fit to begin with.
That's just it. I didn't realize that the nature, and you don't know this until you get in the belly of the beast. You don't know that it's not a good fit
Right.
until you're taking part of it. So I was thrilled when I
Yeah.
got my first call back for an on-air job. I was like, yes, somebody wants me. And then you start to see, it's like getting into a bad relationship. You don't know until later. It's great in the beginning, the honeymoon phase, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you see your first red flag. And then you hope and pray there isn't a second and a third, and there is. And then you're like, okay, I have to face this. I can do something about it or not.
Yeah.
And at that point, I knew I was driving my husband nuts and I didn't want to end up divorced, if I'm being blunt. So I was like, I need to get myself help. I got to do something because this is not working. And even after I got the help, I still went back to work in the same place and I still felt the same way.
Yeah.
But because I had the therapy, I was able to say, okay, I got it. The environment is what's not working. The industry is what's not working. Let me find,
because that wasn't really clear to you even, right?
No. I thought
so that wasn't like overly clear.
Right. Yeah. I thought I was pigeonholed to that. I thought that this is the choice I made for the rest of the life, because that's what they tell you in grade school, that you make your choice and that's it. And we're laughing because it's so not that way now. It doesn't have to be that way now, but at the time, that's where my head was.
Yeah.
And so I got a completely different job in a completely different industry, and I took a break just doing that for like a year. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can breathe now. That's what it felt like. I can breathe now. I can just focus on this one thing. And then it came to, I'm missing dressing up and taking pictures. I'm missing being behind a microphone and making videos, and hence, social media being, I call it a hobby. For me, it's a hobby, and that's something that I love to do. And then I was like, okay, wow, maybe this is the secret sauce. Maybe I don't have to worry so much about the 9 to 5. I can just have my hobby and a 9 to 5 that we'll be real. Like, I'm not as passionate about. I can balance it that way if that's what works for me. It took a whole year to get that.
And I think sometimes people don't realize that, right? Yeah. We think as a society that something is supposed to fill all of the holes, right? And I think that both you and I can relate to this, that we have careers, right? That we like, You know, I mean, I really do love different parts of what I do every day, but there's a part of me that is fulfilled in other ways.
Right. We're doing
and I
this
think
in
that
our
when
off
we can
time now.
find,
Like,
yes, absolutely. No, and this is like, I'm having a blast. Like we've been chatting for a while now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to, I'm like, I don't want to stop talking. So let's do our interview now. Like that was the deal. So, you know, we have these ways, and I think that we can go back to the, who do I want to be? And we can put that hat on and we can say, okay, well, I want to be out there and I want to be inspiring people and I want to be whatever, but it doesn't have to fit into the 9-to-5 persona. It can be, you can choose that, you know, you can be a surfer and have a 9-to-5.
Yeah. And
you don't have to choose
surfer.
to just be a professional surfer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that that's what's so fun about it. I would love to talk to you about your pictures and about your social media and about your podcast and all of the cool stuff that you're doing, Val, because honestly, that's something that I'm just really fascinated by, because I think there's so much that we can learn from you. And so, you guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just dive into all of that with Val. But first, let me tell you all about something that my team has cooking up to help you get better connections. So if you want to have these really cool candid conversations with people like Val, you're going to want to stay tuned to listen to this real quick. And then we're going to get back into our conversation with Val and get into how she has the confidence and the swagger to be able to show up in the way that she does. That is so inspiring all around town.
Hey, Lachelle here. And I just got to ask you, do you ever listen to podcasts or special training from gurus who are telling you exactly what to do, but you still have questions? Wouldn't it be amazing if you actually could ask questions to the people who are presenting to give you your personalized answer to how you can get into action and apply it to your unique situation? That is exactly why I created the Better Club Elite, which is a very special, very exclusive monthly membership that gives you access to those question and answer sessions that are going to get you into action and get you all lined up with everything that you need to start being better, doing better, and having better in life and in business. The support, the answers, and everything that you need to get you into action. So let's go.
Yeah. Okay, you guys. So we have to get into this. Val, I can't wait. Okay, so you guys, I gotta paint you this picture, because if you guys aren't from the Rochester area, you might not know Val, but she has this really great Instagram. What is it? What is your handle, Val?
My handle is at Val Kleinhans, which I've gone back to that because I want people to get to know me. Val and Vogue was it's a great, clever name, and Very Vogue is the name of my podcast. But I wanted people to get to know me as the person, not like hide behind a blog name.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of toying with changing that up right now.
So one of the things that I just love about you, and you guys, for those of you guys who, again, haven't gotten a chance to check out Val's work, is that she does some really cool pictures of herself on her Instagram feed. Okay. And she's got fashion. She's got this fun, like edgy style to her. It's just, she's awesome. But one of the coolest things, you guys, is that Val goes around town with her tripod and she takes these pictures of herself for herself. And I want to bring this up because I think you do such an amazing job. And I work with so many people, Val, who are afraid to put themselves out there on social media. They're afraid to expose themselves, to expose their feelings, expose their face, expose anything that maybe isn't perfect. And they're afraid to be judged. They're afraid to all kinds of things. We have so many fears. And I think that not only is it so cool that you do these really cool pictures of yourself, but what I am even more impressed with is the fact that you take your tripod out around town and you set it up and you're just taking pictures of yourself. And I remember just myself feeling awkward, and I'm getting past that, but that's why I just think this is so fun to talk about. I would feel awkward, like taking that selfie, even though I wanted to do what I needed to do for my social. And to see you showing up and just like owning it and like doing your thing is so cool. And I want to just know, is that something that was always easy for you? Is that something that you had to work into? I want to hear more of the behind the scenes of that.
Oh no, it's still awkward as hell. Like, every time it's still awkward. Like I even had one, I was shooting downtown once and there was this older gentleman who walked up to me and said, "Oh, are you going to sing?" And I looked him dead in the face. I was like, "You do not want me to sing." He thought the black tripod was like a mic stand or something. And I was like, "Oh, you do not want me to sing." No. But so yeah, there are moments where it gets a little bit awkward. But what I end up telling myself is, this is for me, period. This is for me. This isn't for anybody else. Why do I need to worry about what other people look at or what they're thinking while I'm out there? I actually have people drive by and say, "Nice boots," or things like that sometimes too, which is hilarious. But it's for me. I tell myself that this is for me. And what that means is, this is something I'm doing for myself to reach my goals in life. And that's all that should matter. Whoever's watching on the street, awkward people who just like to stare or whatever, that's 10 seconds of my life. That's not forever. And those are the things I try to tell myself to stay in a comfortable mindset. I'll call it comfortable. I don't know if it's confidence, but I'm comfortable and I'm not afraid.
Were you always comfortable in front of the camera, or was that something that you had to work your way up to? Because I was not.
I think so. And maybe just because I kind of was doing it since I was 9, because this is hilarious now, because if you look at me and what I wear and what I look like, you would be like, there's no way she was ever a pageant girl. But when I was 9, my mom put me into some pageants in Pennsylvania. And some of that requires being a spokesmodel and camera work. And I was always told that I sounded very mature for my age, spoke like an adult and I'm talking like as a child, like under 10, like people would call the house and think that I was my mother if I answered and I wasn't, so I always got those compliments. And I think entering me into pageants was my mom's way of kind of nudging me toward, you kind of have some gifts here. Why don't we explore this and see what this does? Or at least explore the skill of public speaking and being the spokesmodel. She wanted me to at least explore that. And mission accomplished, it did. I mean, I never won the beauty parts, but I always won the speech competitions every year I entered.
That's awesome. And that probably was a part of you finding your love for broadcasting, which now you're using in your podcast.
Well, or at least, I'm grateful that I had friends and family and loved ones that said, you really are good at public speaking and giving speeches and owning a room. They're like, you really just are naturally very good at that. Do something with that. I had people that were kind of pointing me in that direction to begin with. So by the time, you hit your junior year and you're starting to think, what do I want to do for college, or what do I want to study? What do I want to pursue for a career? I already had a love of music, and I was like, how can I combine music, which would be fun, with something that I'm pretty good at, speaking? Ta-da! That's where the broadcast idea came from. And that's why I was like, you know what? I think I want to study broadcast in college and see what happens with that. So.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think we need to just highlight real quick is so powerful. So if you guys are kind of stuck in this place where you're like, I don't know if this fits me anymore, or if this ever fit me, one of the clues that you have is the people around you that know you really well and care about you, that say, hey, sister, like, you need to do this. This is what you're really good at. You need to incorporate this into your day. So follow the clues. And what I love, again, about you is that you're using your gifts and your talents in all kinds of cool, creative ways. They don't have to just be with your 9 to 5. If all of the things line up in the perfect way, like, you're going to be open to that. But at least now you kind of have this idea of what it is that you like, what you don't like. And you've been learning some things about yourself along the way. And I think I also wanted to highlight that, you guys, is that she was able to take her experience in her depression and her anxiety and take all those tools that she wouldn't have maybe gotten if she hadn't gone through that hard thing. And you were able to take that. And I love the fact that you're marrying your love for broadcast and serving people and bringing awareness to mental health, you're bringing awareness to, in my opinion, like just putting yourself out there and doing things for you. And all of that's really, really healthy. And it's very impactful.
Yeah, I didn't realize there was a need for that, specifically talking about mental health on a public platform. I didn't know there was a need for that until I would get calls at the radio station saying, "Where have you been?" And I would tell them what I had done, because they were my friends at that point.
Right.
And these were people that would like call almost every day. So once I started talking about my experience going through therapy and how I was feeling when it came to anxiety and depression, once I started doing that on the air, just because I felt like I was talking to my friends, then you started to get the feedback of, "I love that. We need more of this. I would like to hear more of this. Tell me this, tell me that."
Yeah.
And honestly, my eyes were opened in another way too, because regionally, that part of sharing your journey is different. I grew up in a typical East Coast Italian American family where there are not very many secrets. So we get loud and we're in each other's business sometimes. And when it comes to mental health, my parents were not shy about their own journey. If my mom was having a bad day where she was sleeping on the couch all day, for example, she would explain, "Mom's not really feeling 100% good today." And she would tell us, "This is what depression is." So I think from an early age, it was normalized for me, which was helpful. But cut to doing this myself in the Midwest, I'm like, whoa, there's some Midwestern families that are like, "Thank God you started this conversation, because we would never talk about this otherwise. This is just a no-no," which never even occurred to me. I was like, this isn't just normal part of your conversation. No, it's not. And there is a need for it. So having that conversation with others is something that you can do to help yourself get unstuck. Receiving compliments and using them as clues, that's another way that you could get unstuck.
I love that. And oh my gosh, like our time has gone by so fast, and I want to make sure that we've had a chance to cover anything that we haven't already. Do you have any additional things you wanted to say, or tips or tricks that you can give people who are listening that will help move them from where they are to even a step closer to where they want to be?
Yeah, take a chance. Try. I've never gotten anywhere that I have in life, good or bad, by not asking the question, "Can I do this? Will you help me do this?" Or just exploring something to see what I thought about it. Even if it didn't work out, I'm always glad that I at least tried and didn't give up on it, because you learned a lot just from that experience as is.
Right.
That's what I encourage anybody to do, is just give it a chance. Don't give up. Try. Ask the questions. Ask for help if you need it.
That's so impactful. And I think that's oftentimes we're afraid. We're afraid of messing up. We're afraid of failing. We're afraid of looking stupid. We're afraid of what other people think. We're afraid of so many things, and it holds us back, right? It holds us back from what we're being called to do. And I just got to say that you have been a big inspiration for me. And what would you say to the people who are really being held back right now by showing up? Because I love, again, that you're showing up in a way that's really showing all of us how to do it. So what would you tell the person who's just a little bit scared to put themselves out there?
You're never going to get where you want to go if you don't at least try. That would be the first thing I would say. I would be that real and be like, even like, we'll take social media, for example, just because I know a little bit about it. You're never going to have like 1,000 subscribers on YouTube or whatever without making your first video. Just try. Even if the video quality is horrible, or even if it's not 100% what you might want it to be, as long as you're still taking a step in that direction to where you want to be, that's not something to be frowned on. That's not something to be hard on yourself about. You're still pushing yourself in that trajectory you want to be. So just try.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. And you guys, like, I find that it's so much fun to be able to go back to my first things that I did and look to see how much I've grown. And if anything, it's just really good entertainment, right? So I mean, it's a win-win for sure, right? Oh my gosh, Val, thank you so much. One of the things that I always do is I have my guests give the audience a question to think about that's going to help move them forward. So what kind of question would you ask people to think about as they wrap up this interview?
I think I might ask too. I would ask, what's stopping you, and are you listening to yourself? Because we get clouded.
Those are so good.
Yeah, we get very clouded by noise, I'll call it, that's all around. So are you listening to you? Are you being authentic to you? And what's stopping you from doing whatever it is that you want to do?
That is crazy. And I have goosebumps, guys, because this is the second time I've heard that same advice.
Oh, okay.
Today, like this afternoon. So I need to listen to that too, girlfriend. So thank you so much. You guys, if you haven't already, take a screenshot of this, throw it in your stories, tag us, let us know that you enjoyed this episode. Let's get the word out about Val. And you guys, thank you so much for listening. Val, thank you for showing up and being the encourager that you are. You guys, I hope you all had a great time like I did, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the Unstuck Podcast. I'm so grateful to be on this journey with you. And don't forget to check out the show notes if you want to get into my private club, the Better Club, to be able to learn better ways to be better, do better, and have better. So until next time, keep showing up. Let's get unstuck together. Have a great day.